I've got the distinct pleasure today to sit here and visit with Robert O'Brien of OBE's Game Calls in Gravely, Arkansas. And Robert and I have went back and forth over the last year talking via text on the phone. And I felt the need to come down here today and just visit with him in person to get to know him more as in person, but also behind his calls. And Robert's been very he's opened the doors, for us to come down here today and to do that. So, Robert, I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And
no problem.
So you were talking about when you were a kid, you people called you Obie.
Yeah,
right?
OBE.
Obie. Now, obviously, that's because of your last name, correct?
Right.
And so that's spilled over into the game calls, your calls.
Right.
So how did this business get started?
Well, I made calls for over 40 years, but just as a hobby.
Right.
And then in 2019, I came up with this idea for a turkey call.
Okay.
And I applied for a patent and got it. So then after I spent all this money, I said, okay, I've got to get serious about this now. Just because I got a patent, it doesn't mean anything. You got to go out and sell them.
Yeah, sure.
So that's how I've got started making all the calls that I make now.
Gotcha. So with me, I've worked the NWTF show in Nashville.
Right.
And I've always looked at turkey calls, even before that show, both as a representative of a company working there, and also as an attendee. And the aspect to turkey calls, the craftsmanship, the differences of the turkey calls, always caught my eye. I mean, there were some that were super flashy but didn't have a really good sound.
Right.
There were some that just looked like you picked it up out of a ditch that had an amazing sound.
Exactly.
So can you kind of walk us through a little bit about your turkey call specifically? Anything that makes it different or?
Well, it's not. I made what they call a pot call,
Right.
a round pot call, and it was. I mean, I've made them, and anybody can make them. My particular call, it's a lot of steps, a lot more steps to it. It's more intricate. To me, it's got a better sound than a round pot call does. I don't call mine a pot call. It's old call because it's not shaped like any other call. And I just think it's fit right in your shirt pocket. The call and striker goes right together.
Gotcha.
Striker fits inside the call.
So over your years of doing this, how do I say this? Have you refined the product any from like when you first started?
Not the patented one, no.
Right.
But I have changed on the other calls that I've made, yes. But on my patented call, it's I've stuck with that same design.
Gotcha.
That's what I've got a patent on, is a design patent on this call.
Interesting. Okay. So what's the feedback you get from hunters on this call?
Everybody loves it.
Right.
I haven't talked to anybody. People come back. People that bought calls from me last year, I go to a show, they come back and buy a call from me again this year. I've had people come to shows, didn't buy a call, but they bought a call from me last year. They just came to see me.
Right.
And tell me how much they appreciated it. We've given lessons.
Yeah.
We pick up kids, and this is the future of our hunting.
Yes, sir.
Is kids, and we try to support kids, try to help them. We'll put one in their hand. I don't care if you're 6, 7, 8 years old. We'll put one in your hand and try to help you learn how to use it.
Right.
Because kids need to be hunting instead of out doing stuff.
Yeah.
Hunting or fishing,
Or
whatever. Instead of get them off the gosh dang phone or computer. Or out doing stuff that they don't need to be doing.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I think that was one of our first conversations about that. So over the years, I mean, you've seen a lot, obviously, changing in not just the hunting industry or whatever, but have you seen progression of like the way hunters are using calls, maybe even your call?
Well, it's I can't say that I have. I mean, people still use the same calls. People I've talked to people that have used the same style call that was designed 50 years ago.
Right.
And so, but the call, as far as the calls goes, there's not been a whole lot of change in it. But they are still using basically the same call that they have 50, 60 years ago.
Interesting. So, you grew up in a drugstore. I got the wisdom of the men that were in there, and they would tell me how they would hunt turkeys or how they would fish, and I garnered that wisdom from them, and I still use some of that today. And one of the guys that was probably one of the better turkey hunters of our area, he was also a good river fisherman, and he would take and I don't know what kind of, to me it looked like a big old clam, like a clam shell. And he took a certain piece of wood and he would scratch that thing. He had it all painted it some way, but he'd take that and he'd just scratch it. He goes, I've killed more turkeys with this. He goes, I don't need a call from big box stores. He goes,
No.
He goes, right here. Well, then years later, he was probably at this time in his early to mid 90s, and I had went to a show and I bought a turkey call, and I said, his name was Robert also. I said, Robert, I want you to listen to this. So I sat there and I worked that box. He goes, it won't work. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, it doesn't sound like a turkey. He goes, but it caught you.
Yeah.
And I said, you're right. I said, it did. He goes, the thing about it is that when people are looking for a call, he goes, try and find something that sounds a little different. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, let's just say you walk into a local sporting goods store and they've got a handmade call. That the consistency in that call is pretty tight, or it's not. He goes, but if you buy a mass-produced call, he goes, then you're not hunting just for a turkey. He goes, you're trying to out-hunt everybody else that sounds the same. And that stuck with me. So many, many years later, I had a call built for me, and we were up there on Poto Mountain, and a buddy of mine was sitting there, and I was calling for him. I'd already tagged out, and we become the hunted. We had a guy coming down off the mountain at us, and I'll never forget that. Forget it. Watching him, and I'm sitting there calling. Well, we're kind of pinned, like we can't move. And finally, I just started hollering at him, and I said, "Don't shoot." I said, "We're standing up," and we did. And he said, "Boy," he goes, "what kind of call was that?" And we got to talking about it, and he goes, "Man," he goes, I've been listening to guys over here. I've been listening to guys over here. He goes, they ain't turkeys. I can hear me that they sound the same. So over the years working these shows, what's maybe a story that rings, brings a memory back to you that really made you feel like what you're doing with these calls is important to the, not just the hunters, but the legacy that you're going to leave behind?
It's just people telling me how much that they like my calls,
Right.
And my son just got a video just a couple of days ago. I think it was from a Springfield show, and had this kid, maybe 10 or 11 years old, and his parents sent a video of him decked out in his camouflage.
Right.
And he may not even been 8 or 9 years old, but he was doing that call. Mm-hmm. And something like that is what makes my day.
Yeah, got to make you proud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the kids being in mind, have you seen maybe like the legacy within the families? Like you have a grandfather, a son, and then a grandson, or maybe even a granddaughter.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Is that maybe part of this business? Maybe one of the little aspects that people don't really realize, or maybe you haven't even realized, that you're not just selling a turkey call, but you're selling memories in the making to families.
Well, sure. That's what you hope. That's what you hope you're doing.
Right.
It's just to me, like I said, the biggest pleasure to me, not just selling a call, but seeing, and I hate to go back to this again, but seeing the young people wanting calls.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And being involved with them,
Right.
you know.
Well, my son, he was fixing to turn 7 when he shot his first turkey.
Yeah.
And I look back at the Facebook memory of it, you know, when it comes back, and I still remember that morning.
Yeah.
And of all the turkeys I've helped people harvest, that right there, that's the one memory that I.
A guy out here, 2 or 3 days ago, bought 2 calls from me, and he was telling me a story about him taking his grandson out when he was just real small, and the grandson killed it. To me anymore, I mean, I've killed a bunch of turkeys.
Sure.
I would rather call one up for somebody else that had never killed a turkey.
Yes.
And let them kill it.
Absolutely.
To me, that's as big a thrill or more of a thrill to do that
Absolutely.
than it is for me to kill one.
Yeah. Years ago, we had a really good turkey population back, you know, where we're at, and there was this one turkey, and I almost want to say he was a color-faced turkey because he had just a different look, he had a different shine, and when the sun would hit him, and when he's out there strutting in those meadows right there, you know, in the mid-afternoon, he just had a total different look. And I told my son and some of my friends, I said, that's the bird I'm going after this year. And we watched him. I knew where he was roosting, but I had a guy come up to me, and he was a terminal patient, and due to his sickness, and he said, I've always wanted to go turkey hunting. And I said, let's go. Well, we go out there where that bird shows up, and I'm sitting there calling, and I've got a gun, you know, on me, but he's sitting there right to my right, and I told him, I said, get ready, that bird's coming right to you. And we're sitting there, and it happened so fast, but it was like slow motion. Mm-hmm. And it didn't dawn on me until after he shot that bird that was the bird that I was wanting to hunt.
Yeah.
You know, that color face type, that bird. Made the guy's day. And we took pictures, and I look back after, you know, all these years, I look back at that moment, and even though that's the bird I hunted, I wanted to hunt, and I wanted to have that mount on the wall, it meant more to me calling it for that guy that made his absolute day. Now granted, he conquered what he was battling.
Yeah.
And he's not here with us no more, but he goes, you know, he went back to that, and he told me how much that meant that day. So you're right. I mean, I know firsthand exactly what you're talking about that. But well, aside from turkey calls, what else? What calls do you make?
Well, I make like squirrel calls, buck grunts, duck calls, locator calls, different locator calls for turkeys. I'm trying to think what all I just make.
But it's not just turkey calls.
It's not just turkey calls. No.
Right.
No.
So you have a Facebook page, correct?
Right.
And you have a website.
Right.
So if people want to contact you about whatever kind of product they're looking for, they can contact you through the Facebook.
Yeah.
But would you rather be called by the phone, or what's your?
Well, you can go to our website and order. I mean, I talk to people all the time on the phone.
Okay.
People call me and they'll ask about something, you know, and but either way.
Gotcha.
But like I said, I talk to people all the time. They'll call me. They may have a question about the call.
Sure.
And usually they will call me.
Okay.
Every once in a while they would email me, but most time people will call me.
Good deal.
I'm like to look people. I like to talk to people in person.
Yes, sir.
It's just because of my age, I guess. I mean, it's because.
And I think too, we're in that age where that's how we grew up.
Yeah.
You know, shaking hands and talking with people in person, and reading people, and that's one of the things I tell my son to this day. I said, never ever lose track of being able to shake someone and talk to them in person. You know, shake their hand in person,
Right.
talk to them, understand the sincerity of it. So there's too much can be read by an email or mistaken by an email or a text. And it's it's one of those traits that maybe this generation needs to learn more about,
Exactly.
especially from guys like us.
Yeah.
So, Robert, I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. They're amazing calls. I've heard them. I've felt them and held them in my hand, and it's an amazing product. And I appreciate for your time. Your time for me to come down here and do that. And we'll do more of this. Hopefully next year at the Arkansas Outdoor Expo.
I hope so.
All right, buddy. Thank you, sir.
You bet.